All right, back with Radical Persuasion. We are discovering the psychology and copywriting secrets behind great offers. And today I'm sticking with the free-ish gifts type of offers and info products for email marketing. Today I'm going to go over an email from Grant Cardone that I got a while back. So right before I do that, quick about me. I'm a direct response copywriter, growth strategist. I help businesses, mostly in info, health, tech, or finance, with their emails, landing pages, and or sales letters and VSLs. So if you want to learn about working with me, go ahead and visit my website there and we can connect. All right. So Grant Cardone, famous for becoming a sales trainer, now sort of, focused more in the real estate world. But I got this email last December 21, 2019. So let's just dive right in. So Uncle G's last webinar. So for people who are familiar with Grant's brand, he sometimes refers to himself as Uncle G. I don't know if he came up with that himself or if somebody named him that one time, but it's a nice term of endearment, a cool way to warm yourself up to your audience. Calling himself a nickname, I think that works kind of nicely. But the second two words is what I think caught my attention most, which is, he says, last webinar. And when I was going back looking through, which kind of emails I want to highlight, on this particular email address, I subscribe to a lot of different email lists to kind of learn what people are doing, what's working, what's not working. I got that tip to do something like that originally from Dan Locke. But on this particular one, I noticed that I had read it. And when I type in, I search for Cardone, just because there's so many emails that hit this inbox, I hardly read any of them, at least right when they come in, and and long after too. Most of them I don't see, but if I'm got a project I'm working on, then I need inspiration, I'll check back. But he says last webinar. It says, Michael, I'm preparing for my last live training of the decade, and what could be my final webinar ever. So subject line is a good attention grabber, because you're like, last webinar, wait, hold on. This guy is, all over the internet, got a huge brand, really coming into his own on like marketing offers, info product offers, that go beyond sales, go beyond what his bread and butter used to be for the most part. And he's saying it's his last webinar. And so it kind of gets you in the door. And then he says, Michael, I'm preparing for my last live training of the decade and what could be my final webinar ever. So, it makes it sound like it's a big, it's like it's a big event. Like, wow, this is the last one of the decade, and it's, December 2019. So in just a month, it's going to be a brand new decade. He could have another live training on January 1st, right? But it's a good way to get people excited and understand, or at least feel, the gravity of the situation. And it says, what could be my final webinar ever? So I think like this first line and this subject line, it's kind of a good way to grab attention, maybe get people interested, and maybe even a little bit worried, like, uh-oh, I'm about to miss out on something. I don't think, if you're building, very long-term relationships with your audience, that you can do this all the time. It's maybe something you can get away with once in a while. Otherwise, people are going to become kind of jaded to that and be like, oh, well, yeah, it's your last webinar ever, whatever. But it's the truth. It could be his last webinar ever. Maybe all the webinar software in the entire world, detonates and is no longer usable. But it's kind of a tongue-in-cheek, fun way to build a little bit of hype around the offer, and get people excited. So you're invited for free. It will be $997 after the new year. So this is another example of kind of using something as a free gift. It's flipping the offer into, in the prospect's mind, making it seem like, oh yes, this is me getting something for free. And a lot of these webinars and these, whether it's a webinar or a video sales letter, or if it's just part of a larger branding effort, and offer, like part of a big offer tree, they do provide a lot of good value. especially, kind of depending on where you're at, skill-wise, experience-wise, in business, marketing, sales, it's genuine, because you will, gain some good value like I have over the years. But it's usually at the end of all of them, there's an offer, and it would be weird if there wasn't. So it's a nice way to make it seem like the person is getting the good side of the deal, which, if they are, kind of, because they get to watch a webinar, learn some stuff, and they're not obligated to buy anything. So cool way to flip it there. And then I'm going to give you, and then it comes up with bullet points. For whatever reason, and this is something I want to learn even more about, which is bullets. Just people read bullets. I don't know what it is. I should do a deep dive on that sometime. But bullets are a great way. Like, people just, when they see a big block of text, it's just overwhelming. Sometimes you're like, no, I can't make it through this. But for whatever reason, you put a little bullet next to them, and you start reading a lot more. So I'm going to give you what I learned in 2019, habits you need going into 2020, your goal blueprint for 2020, how to make this January your most successful month ever, and accountability and mentoring with me. So something I might change here is just make these more benefit driven. Explaining like how what he learned is going to benefit the reader. Habits you need going into 2020, that have the possibility of tripling your income. You could, I would flip these first three back onto the reader a little more. But this one, how to make this January your most successful month ever, that's cool. And then accountability and mentoring with me too. I like this. Mentoring that's like an interesting word. There's a lot of people with a lot of definitions of what a mentor is, what mentoring is. Some people it's one-to-many, and can be one-to-many. Some people they consider it to be like a more one-on-one, very personal relationship. There's no defined definition of it. So it's a good word to use sometimes, because it has that flexibility, but it also has connotations of like, oh, is Grant going to work one-on-one with me? So you got to like balance that as you're if you've got an info product offer and you're thinking about positioning something like that, because you could get some people that are like, oh well, when I think of mentor, I think of Grant's got my cell phone number and I'm texting him on Friday night, we're buddies and he's making me successful. But I think it's a good word. It's something that's come up a lot over the past couple of years, and I'm guessing it started with Tai Lopez used to use that word a lot. So, and then this call to action. Just look at this. Just look at this. Step back for a second. Look at this email visually. It's just short and sweet. Like, not every email, especially if it's an email that's pushing to a landing page or a webinar or a VSL or a cool offer. It doesn't have to be super in-depth or super long for people to feel like they're getting value out of it, and to pique people's interest into having them take the next step, which in this case would be just clicking. And then visually, you'll notice that it's just one big fat red button, register for how to 10x 2020, right? I think that could be a little, one thing I might have changed if I wrote this is say that the live training is called How to 10x 2020, because this is a little confusing. I'm not sure what that is, but because it wasn't mentioned before. But anyways, maybe it was in a previous email. I just didn't read it. P.S. What better way to start the new decade than with me? Let's do this. Reserve your spot here. So, and then a second call to action right here. These are both not clickable anymore. The offer expired, but it's even though you've got this one big giant one that you expect everyone to click, it's also good to have other calls to action, just in case people keep reading, and stuff like that. I think Grant can get away with a line like this because his brand and star power is so big in the online business world. So maybe it's a little bit of maybe with this they were trying to say like, this is time you get to spend with Grant. It's a little bit of personal time with me. And getting close to that guru figure, feeling in touch, feeling connected. That's a powerful emotional driver as well. So maybe that's what they were thinking with this line here. But other than that, good, simple, straight to the point. I'd like to know how this did. I'm sure it did well. And of course, it's not one email in a vacuum. There's other emails surrounding this, and sure this wasn't the only one he sent, but yeah, something interesting to do that, sometimes you can do a little bit of a push-pull feeling. You can say, hey, is this going to be my last webinar? And I don't think it's something you can do all the time, but once in a while you can get away with it and get people in the door to start taking the next steps, and then eventually push them to the offer. So that's it on this one. Again, if you want to get in touch with me, learn about working with me, if you got a project in mind, whether it's email, landing page, sales letter, or VSL, you can just visit my website right there, michaeljmcgovern.com, and we can connect. All right, until next time.